The annual general meeting season is set to get into full swing from next week, where major shareholders' votes will be crucial. However, company directors today expressed concern about the move towards outsourcing institutional voting powers to what's known as proxy advisor firms, as Emily Stewart reports.
It's coming up to a busy time for institutional investors who should attend up to 30 annual general meetings a week.
80% of Australian companies have their meetings in that main proxy season of October to early December. And that means that there's a really strong incentive to outsource parts of the process.
That's why they've been turning to proxy advisors for advice on how to vote on issues such as executive pay and mergers and acquisitions. A report commissioned by the Australian Institute of Company Directors shows directors have concerns about the growing influence of proxy advisors.
Some company directors strongly felt that institutional investors are outsourcing the responsibility of voting decisions to proxy advisory firms due to resource and time constraints, and this was abrogating an important responsibility they should be performing.
Don Argus is the former chairman of BHP Billiton, and he says corporations try to build up goodwill with their investors, but it creates difficulties when proxy advisors step in.
To have an outlier who gets their funds from these investment institutions going out and running their own agenda, and I guess if I ran one I'd probably do the same because I'm looking for further revenue.
Directors also claim it's too difficult to communicate with proxy advisors during the AGM season.
What has happened is that with the outsourcing to proxy advisors, the mismatch is knowing who to speak with at the proxy advisors and getting access to the proxy advisors.
David Crawford says proxy advisors take on more staff during the busy period who may not have key background knowledge about a company.
And they're really looking at formulaic proposals for the purposes of making their recommendation.
There's a couple of proxy advisors that have become legends in their own time, and I'm not sure that they've got the skills to properly analyse the original investment decision.
But consultant Maria Leftakis disagrees, saying advisory firms are well equipped to provide advice.
There is usually a fairly large team that works on the analysis of resolutions before they produce their research recommendations.
The two major proxy advisory firms in Australia are ISS and Glass Lewis. Neither company was available to speak on camera, but they say why would clients pay a substantial amount of money for their advice if it wasn't well researched and accurate? Executive pay remains one of the key areas of concern, with super funds voting down more than 40% of remuneration reports last year, and it's an issue that's likely to raise its head at more than a few AGMs.